Hello, welcome everyone. We're thrilled to have you join us for our overview and discussion on fearless female leadership, barriers, solutions, and support for your rising female leaders. I'm Chris Saltz, Chief Revenue Officer at Raleigh, with whom Cheryl's partnered to bring her digital fearless female leadership curriculum to life. To begin with, I'd like to introduce our friend and today's leading speaker, Sheryl Kline, CEO and founder of the Zone Lab. Sheryl spent the last 25 years as a mental toughness and certified high performance coach. She's the author of both the book and the enterprise journey, Fearless Female Leadership, as well as a renowned public speaker and trainer of emerging female leaders and world-class athletes. She has a goal of impacting and empowering 10,000 fearless female leaders, and she's well on her way to doing so. And I'd also like to introduce our esteemed panelists, Kelly Nagel, former president and general manager of Jabra North America, currently serving as an advisor and board member at the WIT Network, as well as Rally's founder and chief transformation officer, Larry Mohl. With that, Sheryl, I'll turn the floor over to you.
All right, thanks so much, Chris. And I'm excited to jump in. I just wanted to welcome everyone. And before I get started, I would really love to know what's top of mind for you. And in other words, what challenges maybe are you experiencing? And also, what transformation are you looking for in your female leaders? Rather than me just beginning in, I would love to hear from you. And as I start to see things coming into the chat, one of the things that's coming in actually, gosh, quite consistently is how do we keep our emerging female leaders? How do we get them and keep them in our pipeline, but also to keep them as focused and motivated and really high performing during times of change and disruption? And that is an amazing question that we're definitely going to talk about today. And without further ado, we will jump right in. But of course, you can keep your questions coming. And today we're really going to talk about not just how to empower your emerging female leaders, but also as leaders, how to empower you to empower your female leaders at scale. And a couple things that I wanted to share. We're not going to get into the finances too much and about the economic climate, but these things are really important things that are facing our companies right now. Thinking about, we're at an overvalued stock market right now. So where's the economy? Where is it teetering right now, according to what's happened financially in history? And also as well, what is the impact of some of the global uncertainty that's going right now and on our global economy? And then finally, as we are all probably well too aware, what about these layoffs that we're having, and what is the impact, and where is our female leadership going? Are we having more female leaders, or is that number going down instead of up? And the research is showing that the number that women are being hit by this, by these stats a little bit more frequently than men. And so let's figure out some solutions to that. And one thing also based on the research is, this is out from Cindy Adams out of the CLO Leadership Circle, is that women tend to have different levels of the ability to lead with authenticity, and also their ability to relationship build with their teams and also with their customers. They have an innovative mindset. They also tend to play for an all to win, and also some other attributes that they have that are going to be incredibly important heading into a year of potentially disruption and some uncertainty, is that their ability to build stronger connections, deeper relationships, and also have the ability to have lower reactivity. So it's not just a nice to have, or let's check the boxes because it's the right thing to do, which should be enough in my opinion, but it's also about, for the health of our companies, what is going to be best for our companies. And we're really going to have the conversation about how to unlock the power of your female leadership while also keeping them motivating and being able to retain them in your pipeline, as well as your ability to scale the impact that you're already having as a leader. Now, there are 3 critical steps that we're going to talk about today in the Fearless Female Leadership journey. And so I'm going to take a moment so you actually, as a leader or as an emerging leader, to empower your emerging leaders, you will have some resources to take away from today and a little bit of glimpse as to what emerging female leaders will be experiencing. First, it's about the framework. It's really about three things. The first one, clarity. Without clarity, we have a certain level of uncertainty. We haven't charted our path to where we want to go, and we don't have a vision. And it's high-level aspirational clarity all the way down to clarity in how we are preparing and how we take control over preparing for crucial conversations and interactions. Next is confidence. This is built on a world-class framework that helps female leaders and executives understand how Olympic level performers can prepare for the vision that they've created for themselves, how that they can believe in the vision that they've created for themselves, and also how they can really get behind and start becoming their future vision of themselves and start becoming it today and working towards that. And then finally, influence. Influence is really about how female leaders and emerging leaders can gain buy-in from those in power. And whether you're an individual contributor and you're looking towards having your first role as a manager, or you're in a female executive leadership role and you would like to build influence and gain buy-in from your CEO or from your board, this content here in Influence is really, really appropriate and helpful when it comes to influencing up or gaining buy-in from those in power or those who can champion your efforts. And ideally, this all leads to a greater impact. Now, there are a few companies and places where I've amplified the voice of female leaders before. And just so you know, this is not my first time doing it. I have been asked for so many years that my one-on-one clients who are executive women, some of the most prolific and influential female leaders in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, and across the country, they really wish that all of the women in their organization could have the tools that they have, that could see the transformation that they've seen, and now it's really possible. So I'm super excited to partner with Rali and to show you how this is done. So a little bit about me, these things, thanks to Chris, you probably already know, but just to share briefly of why do I care about this? I'm really from 3 generations of really strong, amazing women, but who were not able to be fearless female leaders, whose voice were diminished, in their households. And it's very, very important to me because I believe in the power of the voice of each and every female leader. And it's not that female leaders are better than male leaders at all. It's just that we are different. And it is so important to balance this out now more than ever. And that every female leader has a voice, that their voice matters. And then as we go into this year, further into this year, that the health of our companies and are really going to depend on the voice of the women in your organization, as well as the amazing men who support them and champion their efforts. All right, so we talked about 3 critical steps, 1 being clarity and 2 being confidence. So I just wanted to go deeper in step 3 in confidence. I always say, I have 3 kids. I do not have a favorite. I do not have a favorite on these 3 critical steps either, but if you were to really push me, I would maybe teeter a little bit towards influence. So I'm going to share a little bird's eye view into some of the content that your emerging female leaders and female leaders might get from the Fearless Female Leadership Journey. This is based on a lot of the content from the last 20 to 30 years of research on FBI hostage negotiation, but I've also added in a little bit about how do you prepare your mindset prior to influence. In other words, how can you prepare in an Olympic level way for those moments that really matter that lead up to your Olympics and the Olympics of your emerging female leaders. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. First, I have the question, what is influence? A lot of times people think influence is convincing someone else to gain buy-in. So convincing them to say yes, or convincing them to come over to your perspective. But one thing that I've learned over the last couple years working with Chris Voss and working with other FBI hostage negotiators is that that's not exactly true. And that's what I used to think as well, that influence is really more about first building trust, creating safety, and then gaining information. And then once we've done these three things, then we have built the runway to have influence. If we don't understand and how to do these things first, then it's going to be very, very difficult at best to have influence and to gain buy-in from others. Most people don't know this, and they also do not know the strategy, how to prepare their mindset and how to structure their communications so they can prepare, create this runway, and then to become highly influential. The emotional agility plays into it too, because also in this journey, we will talk about how to prepare your mindset prior to crucial conversations or high stakes conversations. And the whole purpose is really to start getting out of our head and into that of the other person's. It's called strategic-based empathy, and it's part of the mental preparation behind influencing under pressure and in high-stakes conversations. And in order for really anyone to be highly influential, we have to be able to be highly emotionally agile. In other words, there's similarities and differences between world-class performers and everyone else, whether you're an Olympian, you're a CEO of a company, or you're, an amazing high performer, or you're someone who's just getting started, or someone in between. We are all human beings, therefore we all have anger, fear, excuse me, doubt, frustration, all of those emotions. But world-class performers know how to get into the zone. They know how to be highly aware of their emotions, to be very emotionally agile. And part of what allows them to do this and to access their best performance is, in fact, getting out of their head and into the other person's. And so one way that we can do this, and that one way that emerging female leaders and female leaders can do this, because let's face it, there's a new level for all of us. There's a next level for all of us. And a business mentor of mine used to say, new level, new devil. So when we are feeling really confident, it means that maybe we're not outside our comfort zone. Maybe we're not testing the waters of our greatness. So when we do take the leap, we do gain clarity on our next level of leadership. And prior to influence, it's extremely important to create what I call an eco mindset. This is just an acronym for first creating empathy. This is getting out of our head, getting into someone else's. It's strategic-based empathy. It's not to be confused with sympathy. So I feel bad for someone. And it's also a step beyond, gosh, what must my boss be feeling right now? What's important to him or her? It's actually taking on the other person's persona in preparation to influence. So in other words, okay, I am my boss. What's important to me? What is stressing me out right now? What will make me look good? What will make my life to be easier? Because it really helps with our mindset to get out of our head. It also helps with our tone, because we start to take on caring. When we are the other person, we start to care about the other person. And as we'll talk about a little bit more in the journey, is that our tone and our gestures are vital. It's actually only 7% of our words that people hear and pay attention to. The rest happens to be our tone and our gestures. So getting out of our head and creating strategic-based empathy is going to be very important for regulating our emotions and to also demonstrate caring, which makes others feel safe and feel heard. And then also curiosity. I mentioned, getting curious about the other person. I am the other person. What are they experiencing? What is important to them? What stress are they under? What can make their life easier? So really taking on their persona and getting curious about their experience in your planning process. And then finally, being optimistic. I don't know if anyone out there has ever approached a new situation, or a situation where maybe it hasn't gone well a couple times. And a lot of times, I've even been guilty of this myself in catastrophizing. So in other words, thinking about the what ifs, or thinking about into the future, what could possibly happen? How could something go wrong? Or maybe in the past that it could go, it could go sideways like it's gone in the past. But it's incredibly important to be forward thinking and really plan out how you would like a situation to turn out. Because of that, again, people will pay attention to your tone, to your gestures. And also that can be to your advantage and it can be to your detriment. So of course, being optimistic and planning and putting in the work behind that optimism is going to be incredibly important as well. Now, look, before we go into this, and I'm going to hand the baton over to Larry, I wanted to chat for a moment and let you hear from someone other than myself, someone who, is really a use case and one of the most amazing female leaders I know. Her name is Kelly Nagel, former president and GM of Jabra. I've had the honor of knowing her and working with her and her teams, her female leaders and emerging leaders for over 4 years. It's been my distinct honor and pleasure to get to know her. She's now a board member. And gosh, it is just really an honor to welcome her to share a little bit, not necessarily about the journey, but about her experience with the Fearless Female Leadership Framework with herself and also with her team.
Thank you, Sheryl. I don't quite know how to go after that. Thank you so much for having me. And it is a pleasure as being someone who's actually gone through the Fearless Female Leader Framework. I can attest to the success of this program. I mean, personally, it helped me gain confidence, take control of my career, and really be an agent of change for my team. And that's one thing I think it's how you can pay it forward and the impact that it has across your organization. Once you go through this framework and are able to take that to your team and really support your female leaders. I mean, this is one thing I continue to hear. We talked about the stat. More than 50% of the tech layoffs in recent months are women. We have less women at the table, less impact, less, ability to take your voice and have it be heard. And, I will tell you that the opportunity cost of losing your top talent is something that companies have to be aware of. I mean, something that I had gone through at my former company. We actually reviewed our top talent and utilized programs such as Sheryl's program for our top talent so we could invest in them and see them grow with the company. So many companies I hear are trying to create their own programs, and that takes time, it takes effort, it takes money, and most companies don't have the resources or the people power to do this. So when you partner with Sheryl and now with Rali, that you can, take this content and digitalize it, and you can have so many more people go through the program and to see that impact with your company and to see your revenues increase, your profits increase. Again, we know when you have a diverse group at the table, you have better outcomes. So when you find different voices, when you let those voices be heard, you see success within your company and your business. So, I can share that so many women are struggling. So many companies are struggling to retain their female leaders. That this is something you must implore and explore. So my advice to all of you is schedule a call with Sheryl. If you want to learn from myself, actually some of my team are on here, which I'm really proud to say that they've gone through the program, and I know it's helped them and given them an impact on their teams. I'm happy to share my experience and share that as a testimonial that Sheryl is an incredible leader, an incredible coach, and this is really something that you can scale to the masses, and the impact is going to be 5 times, 3 times, 10 times. I don't know what it's going to be, Sheryl, but I'm sure it's going to be more than they would be paying. And my recommendation is take a look, be curious, and see the impact to your bottom line.
All right. So thank you so much, Kelly. Again, it was such an honor. It's such an honor to know you. And you're one of the most prolific female leaders I know, and you continue to have an impact at Jabra and now on to your board membership. So thank you so much. I now love to hand the baton to Larry Mohl, former Chief Learning Officer at American Express, Motorola, and others, and also Rali, Chief Transformation Officer and founder at Rali. Larry Mohl, thank you so much for joining. I am so grateful that you're here and for our partnership, and I can't wait to hear from you and hear how is Rali different? How is it absolutely not an LMS? And how is it helping leaders to help their emerging leaders at scale to transform their emerging female leaders?
Thank you so much, Sheryl. And first of all, thank you and Kelly for sharing, your wisdom with everybody here today. And I think I know this is, meant for fearless female leaders, but I'm telling you, I'm picking up lessons left and right now on this webinar. I think Chris probably feels the same way, right, Chris? So
Yes, I do.
I'm grateful to be on this call just for that, to be honest with you. So I appreciate that, and I'd love to talk a little bit more about Rali. If we want to go ahead and go to the first slide, I think we can kind of get there.
Oh, we already went through that.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. The whole purpose, I founded Rali in 2016, and the whole idea was simply to take world-class thought leaders like Sheryl and give an opportunity for them to scale their message and their content, their ideas, their passion in a way that is not just scalable, but it's measurable and it's lasting in terms of the behavior change it creates in the communities that Sheryl wants to impact, companies and other places. And, different from the real difference was I had done a lot of work and found that many of these approaches to scaling were about kind of pushing content out and hoping, I heard the message, but I'm not sure, now I go back to my job. So I'm really not sure that I'm going to do anything with it. And as a chief learning officer, head of talent, head of transformation, these things were really bothering me. And because when you find somebody like Sheryl, who's got a message that's compelling and powerful and it can change lives, you want to scale it, but you want to scale it so that it actually creates impact, not so that it was heard and put in the column of too hard to do or don't have time to do, right? So let's talk a little bit more about what that looks like. Sheryl, if you want to, I think we've got a couple more slides in this.
Yep.
So the way that we position Rali is that what we're really about is helping to create a positive employee experience. Because if you think about this little wheel that I've got up on the screen right now, imagine an organization where the leaders are really trusted and effective. The teams are healthy and high performing. There's a culture of inclusion. These things are happening within your organization. You can't help but have better performance out of people, retain people, and this shows up with your customer base. So the idea was, what is content that helps serve that on a platform that helps activate that? And so we say Rali drives measurable, scalable, and lasting behavior change around key initiatives in these areas. So let's talk a little bit further about what's the difference, as Sheryl was saying, which should be on the next slide, I'm pretty sure. So one of the things that I had done in researching this idea was I had found that many people try and deploy content like this that matters using things that maybe they use more in the world of compliance. Not that compliance doesn't matter, please don't take that wrong, but a lot of times compliance is, do you know it or do you not know it? Versus, as you can tell, is there just one way to influence, Sheryl, or is there multiple ways to influence in the concept of influence? Cheryl's giving you some really good principles, but I've got to figure out how my voice looks like. Is there a right and a wrong? Probably, but there's a wide range of what's right. And so these topics take more thought. And so what we found was that as organizations were using a more traditional individual, put people into an e-learning thing and give them a bunch of information, that whole thing, we found that only 10% of people were actually doing something new on the job, using the traditional approaches, workshops, and pushing out e-learning types of content. The research that I did found that if I could put people in groups where they work together to be the change they want to be, they go on a small, let's call it a journey where they do 3 things: learn, do, inspire. And I'm going to show you that in 1 second. They get action guided. So it turns out that people need a little help. What are the ways that I could do influence in the job? Sheryl, give me a little action guide that gives me some training wheels to get started. I'm new at this, right? So that's something that we provide. Then have it so that that group of people can actually talk together and listen and coach each other. And because it's in a group, make it so that people have a sense of shared accountability. When we do that, we find that we improve this adoption, because there's this big group in the middle. 70% of people are sitting there saying, they're not saying, this is the day I want to show up and learn nothing. That's not what's happening. They're saying, or be the worst employee today. That's mostly not happening, right? But what we did find is people are really trying and wanting to learn more and wanting to help themselves and help the company. And so the Rally methodology you'll see in the platform is built to implement these little things on the right side. So If you look at what the platform then looks like, just off the on a slide, and then I'll dive in. Rally actually is organized into 3 big sections: a video component, which allows communication interactively. You have the middle section is the journey component, where the learn, do, inspire group-based methodology lives. And you're doing a great job with the cursor, by the way, Sheryl. And then at the bottom, no, you're pointing you to exactly the right spots.
Oh, good.
Yeah, you were doing great. And then at the bottom, you have the Explorer section, which is where you can put other media interactively, so that as the community is learning and growing, there's new content that would help them. And you'll notice on the left, on the big orange surround, is that we offer exclusive content and support from leading experts by, like Sheryl, that's pre-built into the platform, can be customized for your own organization, certain words and things like that, visuals. But the whole idea is then to have that as a ready to go, so you can accelerate more quickly inside the implementation. So with that, I'm going to actually go ahead and share my screen.
Yeah, and I just saw an amazing question come in that I'll insert, and it's like, well, how is this just for women, or how does it benefit men in the organization? And I just wanted to share that the content, as Larry was saying, that he was getting a lot of interesting and helpful information out of it. It's very universal. I like to say it is a feminine approach to fearless leadership. And so it can help in 2 ways. One is that, of course, men can learn the framework. It'll be very applicable to them. There are just certain things that, women may be more struggling with or more challenged when it comes to tapping into really their power, but it's definitely universal information. And also it will, of course, give men an insight into how to help their emerging female leaders to access their highest sense of leadership. So it really helps in 2 different ways.
I really appreciate you saying that. What you're making me think of, Sheryl, was when I was at several of these organizations, like you said, I ran the talent management process. And, I will say that, we tried to make that as fair and equitable as process. We got better and better over time. And, trying to make really emerging female talent visible to people who would make decisions about this type of thing, but not quite really understanding to the depth required the struggles and the aspirations of the female leaders in the organizations I work with. I would say this would have helped us do a better job. To be honest, we did the best we could with what we knew at the time. And I think we made great strides, but I know there was a lot more that could have been done. And so I wish I would have known you then. Is all I can.
Thanks so much. And I'm really grateful too that there are slides, there are videos, and there's support for male leaders and male allies in here as well. So I'm glad that question came up.
Wonderful. All right, let's go 1 step forward, and I'm going to share my screen. I think I can. I think you'll have to, yeah, I'm going to just go ahead and continue. I think it'll stop your screen. So hopefully you can see my portal. And what I've gone ahead and dove right into the journey section, which shares Sheryl's content in this Learn, Do, Inspire format. So one of the things that you'll notice is we've got learn activities. You can see the top learn. We have a do, which is the on-the-job application. And we have an inspire, which is where we get the group to really amplify their group learning. One thing I should say is every learn activity in Sheryl's journey is only 15 minutes long. No video is more than 4 minutes. So the whole idea is to be able to come in, activate with content and with other people quickly, and be able to gain a lot of information and connect, right? And you'll also notice that every little piece of this puzzle has points, right? That's hard to say. Piece of the puzzle has points. But the whole idea is that, as I'm going through my journey, I'm tracking myself. I'm getting little rewards, and that becomes a really fun way of creating engagement and getting people to actually follow through, which is a really important thing. But I talked about this as being a group-based journey. So up at the top, you'll see a network tab. And this is all the people in the cohort that are going through this journey together. And this cohort can be constructed many different ways. We won't get into that detail today. But one of the things we do along with Sheryl is to help you understand what are the most optimal ways to organize your groups. Is it departments? Is it cohorts of women across the company at different levels? What does it really need to be? And that's going to be configured any way that we want. One of the big things about this platform is that it actually automatically stimulates conversation. I used to run communities of practice at Motorola, and I learned that if I wait for people to talk, I'm going to wait a long time. So the idea was, how can we ask and pose really interesting questions to get people to personalize the content to them and create insight for themselves and others? The leaderboard gives us that point totals and helps us understand where are we and how are we doing, and again, create some really fun and healthy competition between people. The resource tab gives us all the content that we've already completed. So anything in those little tiles that you haven't completed yet shows up here. But if you have completed it, you can come back without having to go into the little tile and basically, look at a video again, or a document, or anything that you need. Think of that as the on-the-job support, performance support tool, right, built into the platform. And then finally, the dashboard, which of course is super important to see where are the different groups of people in the journey related to their completion, the activities they completed, what they're doing. But also, one of the things is we actually can ask poll questions as well as open-ended questions in the actual learn activities. And those poll question responses come through for analysis. And so as people continue to play the journey, these poll questions grow in their robustness, and that can all be looked at for analysis. And again, it all comes down to what kind of questions we ask. Now, on the analytics front, since I showed you this discussion forum, I do want to share that we also have built very interesting AI analytics that helps us see all the discussion themes that are coming up for a group of people against different questions that have been asked. We can see the sentiment of the responses, and we can go in and say, okay, this term better came out really big for this question. What was that about? And we can go in there and it'll actually say, oh, there were some stories that were told. And from this, we can help you to really assess the impact, because we have a set of, let's call them programmed questions that are in a journey that ask questions like, what are you learning? What are the confidence that you have now to be more influential? What's the impact from things that you've been doing on yourself and others or the organization? And we can gather that data. There's really indications of behavioral application, which goes well beyond, did I watch a video? And that's the real difference, as Sheryl was pointing out. So finally, I'm just going to take you very quickly into a learn activity, a do, and an inspire. So let's just go here very quickly. Under the learn activity, it breaks down into little learning challenges where I'm asking you kind of the atomic particles of learning. So one of these things is why clarity is key. And what's really neat about this is you now have access to Sheryl's signature content in very well produced, very succinct videos. Every video's got a message, it's actionable, and it's something that you can consume quickly. But the idea is we pair that media with different types of questions. In this case, it's a poll question. And so as people answer this question, imagine 100, 1,000 women leaders answering this question in your organization. You can start to see the patterns of data and can take action depending on what you're seeing. So that's a big part of this. The second big area is being able to ask open-ended questions. So I can be watching a video and then ask, what 3 words describe the best version of you, or the version that you aspire to be? As people answer those questions, their discussion is triggered into a discussion forum where everybody else can start to see your answers and respond and build that community around these more thoughtful triggering questions. So that's an important part of it. But again, remember, anybody can come in and create a new discussion from scratch at any time. And a little secret, you earn bonus points as you do that. So this is the way that you start to get information about people's level of engagement. So that's an important piece. Now, it's great that we're learning something. At the same time, we want people to get out there and try something. So the do activity is really the way of doing that. It's really giving people the ability to do something that helps them move the ball forward in their practice. So this is develop a plan for your next level of success by identifying the actions to take and the help you need along the way. Create your personal success roadmap to reverse engineer what you want. Now, in Sheryl's program, you actually get this really comprehensive workbook that comes along with this. Some of our journeys, the workbook is actually embedded right into the do activity, but in this case, you actually get a PDF level workbook. You complete this exercise and you come back and fill out your response and then submit that back to the platform. When you submit that back to the platform, maybe some of you that were really paying attention noticed that everybody has a learning partner. That learning partner just gets notified that I completed a do activity and can coach me, can support me, can encourage me in ways to continue my learning and round out the things that I'm learning. And then finally, in the Inspire, when I did communities of practice, I learned that if I can get people to share stories, encourage each other, and appreciate each other for sharing what they're learning and what their challenges are, I can amplify the whole community. So the idea is, through this facility, people can share their stories in written form. They can click a button and upload a video of themselves. So you actually get a library of stories in this specific case that actually, again, gets added to that discussion forum. So again, finally, people go on a journey. This is I'm showing you an abridged version of the journey of Sheryl's. This is just 8 tiles of a longer journey. The last thing I should mention is normally there's little locks at the top so that people are going from left to right in kind of a linear way. And people really, can engage with content, engage with each other. And rally means rally together against a purpose that matters. And I think what Sheryl is doing, purpose that matters. And we love that we get a chance to support you, Sheryl. So I hope that's helpful.
Thanks so much, Larry. There's a couple questions coming in. And one of them is, how involved am I? So if someone listening wants to, be involved with the journey and they incorporate it and bring it into their company, there's a couple questions coming in like, how involved would I be? And the answer is as little or as much as you would like. So the technology for this journey is meant for, smaller cohorts of 10, 20 to 50, but also for, and Larry will be able to speak to that even more, but it's really so you can have impact at scale. And so I can come in, I can introduce it at a kickoff, either live or virtually, as I'm doing now with a couple separate cohorts. Glad to lead them through it. And meet every other week and really take the cohort through and be very hands-on. And also I can do that as well for executive leadership teams, whether it's one-on-one or small executive cohorts as well. So that would warrant a conversation, and I could definitely work with whoever is interested. And again, it's as little or as much as you would like me involved. Also, there's a question too, I think this one's more for Larry, and it's really about, well, how would Rally support the organization if they did decide to move forward? So what's Rally's involvement? And I'll let Larry speak to that question.
Absolutely. So what we do is, one of the things when when I was a head of HR technology at these companies, this is the early days of software as a service. And one of the things that happened to me was, that unfortunately many times stood for set up and see you later, right? So getting the support was very, very hard. And so I vowed if I ever founded my own company, I would not do that. And really, with Chris and myself together in our team, we have a very robust customer success function. We help you all the way from why the heck do you want to do this to helping you with your change management plan, through helping you with your implementation. Anything related to technology, all we normally do is a single sign-on. This is very much a seamless integration with your current technology, and we support you. And then we are your partner along the journey. Like Sheryl said, you could do this, she could come in and do different things along the way. We're always going to be with you, helping you see your own data, helping you understand what's the impact that you're having, are there ways we want to tweak your implementation? Because at the end of the day, we want you to see your impact, right? And we're all about that. And so that's why we've spent a lot of time thinking through what would a customer success function look like that's grounded in change management, if that makes sense, to help support you through. Many of our clients, we do their administration. So if you're worried about, oh my gosh, do I have to stand up more administration people? The answer is no. It's very easy to do, and we can help you get started with that.
All right. Thanks so much for that, Larry. And I also, some people, it's really great to see, they're like, well, what's next? We want to learn more. And so whether you are looking to empower yourself or your team, here is a QR code where you can get the resources from today. If you would like the slide deck, you want to understand what the Fearless Female Leadership Framework is all about, or to schedule a time with me, you can do that here. Here's all the resources. And then also, if you would like to have a conversation with myself or with Chris Saltz, who's the Chief Revenue Officer at Rali, just, let us know. If you would like to really understand what does it look like for a cohort to go through this Rali journey, whether I am intimately involved or whether I'm not involved, what is the transformation that they can expect? What is the transformation that you can expect? And also, how can we help you help your emerging female leaders? So please do not hesitate to reach out. We are here to answer any questions. We look forward to the possibility of a future partnership, and we appreciate all of your time here today. Larry and Chris, thank you so much. And I look forward to working with you guys, and also look forward to meeting with anyone who has any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Sheryl. Thank you, Larry.
All right. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.